We are in studio 835 on KCMO with Patrick Tuohey, our guest from the Show Me Institute. They're a Missouri-based think tank. But Patrick, he ruffled some feathers last week when he wrote an op-ed in the Kansas City Star about Blue Valley on the Kansas side taking in more money than ever while seeing a decrease in things like ACT scores. And boy, you're taking a lot of heat, my man.
The border war is over. I'm crossing lines. I wrote a few months ago for the Kansas City Star about the Kansas City public school district. And, you know, what I learned and what it reminded me is just that the numbers for school districts can be all over the place. You know, for example, the public school district gives a number for the amount of money it spends per student. But then the Missouri State Department of Education gives another number. And when I sat down and did the calculations, I got a third number. So all the time, these guys are fudging numbers maybe, or they have creative interpretations. And ultimately, the most important thing is, are you delivering the product that parents are paying you to deliver? And I didn't just want to beat up on the public school district on the Missouri side. Blue Valley has gotten great ratings from U.S. News Report, for example, for being the best, if not one of the best in Kansas. And that's great. And they lead with that all the time. In all their financial reports, they say that this is our average ACT score in Blue Valley, and we lead the state. And so I just started looking through all the financial reports and figuring out, well, what's their rate this year, their ACT score? And lo and behold, since 2016, it's been going down. But their population is largely flat over the last 8 years, between 22 and 23,000. And, of course, their budget has gone way up. So what's going on? And I tried to figure out, you know, are they holding on to money? You know, you had Dave Troppert of Kansas Policy on the yesterday morning, and he made a great point about how they spend a lot of their money hiring administrators or managers, and it's not necessarily getting it into the classroom. And so, again, as a kind of right-of-center conservative policy guy, what I am frustrated by, the years of debate about education I hear about in Kansas, is the two sides talk past each other, right? Republicans or conservatives will say, well, scores, we're not getting as good performance as we should. And the left says, well, we need more money. Well, both things are happening, right? Like, you're getting more money and you're also not performing. Ultimately, it's going to take the parents in those school districts to demand more accountability. It's not enough to be the best in the state if your own performance is going down. Maybe it's not going down as much as, Wyandotte County or other places in western Kansas, but when you're seeing a 12% drop in ACT scores over 8 years, like, if I were a parent in Blue Valley, I'd be really concerned.
And because they're getting more money than ever before, and that's one thing, you know, they responded to your article that day in a letter that was sent out to parents. A lot of parents sent it to me, and then they wrote a response to your op-ed in the Kansas City Star. The reaction from the Blue Valley administration tells me you're right over the target. Like, the way that they just responded as quickly as they did. And they also didn't deny your main point. Right. Your main point was scores are down while your spending is up. Right. If that's a private business and the output is down while the spend is up, you've got a problem in that business. But when it comes to public education or anything with the government, it's, we're actually not spending enough or something. They always come back to that answer.
Right. And again, there could have been responses. So, for example, they could have said, well, Patrick, did you know that Kansas made ACT tests free in, I think, 2017? So therefore, more kids are taking it, and so maybe the numbers go down. That's a completely fair response, but I would argue, all right, what that tells me is that the lower scores are more representative of the school district than those higher scores were years ago. And I would also say, all right, that's fair. That may account for a one-time drop, but a slow but consistent decline since 2016 is we still don't have the answer for that. But they didn't even acknowledge it. It was a paragraph or two paragraphs of pablum about the U.S. News and World Report rating, about the number of scholars. And again, I conceded that in the piece. Yeah. I led with that. But again, if the school district isn't serious about maybe they don't have an answer, but they should say, yes, we see this. We see that this is happening. Again, we're reporting it in our own financial documents. We want to understand what's going on. But they don't. They just close ranks, put out a PR document. And again, my kids have all graduated high school, but if I were in Prairie Village, if I were in Blue Valley, I'd I'd want more than just, hey, everything's great.
Yeah.
Because it's not.
Patrick Tuohey, Show Me Institute here on KCMO. What will it take, though? We're a half decade in to some of these eye-opening public school issues that I think people are starting to care more about. And there's no evidence that parents are ever going to demand accountability, sad to say. Their taxes keep going up. Results are getting worse. Do you really think there's any kind of an awakening? Because a lot of parents are just saying, I'm finding alternative methods of education.
Well, I think that's part of it. I think people were going to exit the system.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that all over the country. They're whether it's charter schools or private schools, or maybe it's homeschooling or pod schools where you get together with a handful of other families. People are going to find other alternatives because it is their what's important to them is that their kids actually get educated and that performance go up. If school districts can't deliver on that, then people are going to go elsewhere. What was troubling or surprising, maybe not so surprising to me, is some of the responses I got privately were just, how dare you attack us? You don't even live in Kansas,
which is irrelevant.
You're using. One letter said you're using. The school district shouldn't even have to spend resources to respond to your questions. Like, what kind of taxpayer attitude is that? Like, give us money. What are you doing with it? Never mind what we're doing with it. Just give it to us. But I think what happens is when it's an us versus them, and it's my team go. I mean, look, you cover sports. Sometimes people who are a fan of a team don't want to hear criticism of that team. Mm-hmm. And again, the numbers may be very clear.
But this shouldn't be a team thing. This shouldn't be Democrat, Republican. It should be parents versus the system, as Dave Traubert calls it. And it's now become the stupid, well, I'm a Democrat, so I'm going to defend everything a school system and a public school system does. It's like, why? You're a taxpayer. You're a parent. Who cares about that?
Right. And especially when what's at stake is not some sort of abstract policy thing, but it's the education of your own children. My kids went to the Shawnee Mission School District, and I had challenges there. I had a teacher confide in me years ago that there's just rampant grade inflation going on. And so all of a sudden I realized all the numbers I've depended on to understand how my child is performing are meaningless. I've got all this feedback, and now all of a sudden I don't know what any of it means. And they wanted to put some of my daughters in kind of a advanced learning program where they take you out half a day or a full day. And it was all very yay, rah, rah, your kid's bright, we're doing this. And I kept having to ask the same question before I got an answer, which is there any evidence that this program makes smart kids smarter? The answer was no. There's no research behind it, but it makes parents feel good. You get to say it at the cocktail parties. You get to put it in your Christmas letter. Junior has been in an advanced program. And because parents are happy, principals are happy, school districts are happy, right? But is anything real happening? No.
And then you can just say, hey, I need more money. I need a tax levy for this.
Right,
we're doing that. We need more. This is why we got to increase your property taxes by another 5-7%.
One of the things that for a while, the Kansas City public schools were unaccredited because they missed a number of measurements. Well, they increased. They got accreditation or provisional. I don't know where they stand now, but one of it was they increased graduation rates. Well, that sounds good for a minute. And then you're like, well, I don't know did they lower the standards? Are they just, is it just kind of a rotating door where people just are technically graduated, but they haven't learned anymore? So again, it's people have to understand that sometimes the stuff they're being fed sounds good, but when they think about it, and even when they look at the district's own data, it's a mess. And the district has to, again, I'm not demanding that they have answers, but I like that they would acknowledge the problems, and they haven't even done that.
They haven't. They have not done it at all. Patrick Tuohey on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. You can always stream us on the iHeart TuneIn app as well. So last thing in 30 seconds, we're not going to talk before the Frank White recall. I know, you guys don't get into that kind of stuff, but what do you think that decision means for the future of Jackson County?
So I am confident he will be recalled. I don't think it changes anything. In fact, from a stadium point of view, I think we risk putting somebody in who's more willing to be a sucker for the teams. And I don't understand how it impacts anything on property assessments. Mm-hmm. So it is a reaction. It is people want to stick it to Frank White, and I get it. Political leaders should be held accountable. And if they're upset at what they're being given, they should be able to get rid of those people. I just don't know that it makes anything better.
All right. We'll see what happens on Tuesday.
We will.
All right. Patrick Tuohey on KCMO. What If Wednesday? 3 questions we'll get to coming up next on KCMO Talk Radio.